meet him, the famous Captain Spaulding. From climates hot and scalding, the captain has arrived.
Hello, I must be going. I cannot stay, I came to say I must be going. I'm glad I came, but just the same, I must be going.
For my sake you must stay. If you should go away, you'll spoil the party I am throwing.
I'll stay a week or two, I'll stay the summer through, but I am telling you, I must be going.
Before you go, will you oblige us and tell us of your deeds so glowing?
I'll do anything you say. In fact, I'll even stay.
Good.
But I must be going.
Hooray for Captain Spaulding, the African explorer.
Did someone call me Schnorrer?
Hooray, hooray, hooray. He went into the jungle where all the monkeys throw nuts.
If I stay here, I'll go nuts.
Hooray, hooray, hooray.
I put all my reliance in courage and defiance and risk my life for science. Hey, hey!
One day in Madagascar, he bagged a dozen weasels.
Yes, and all of them had measles.
Hooray, hooray, hooray.
I faced a chimpanzee once, so close I felt his breath. The creature looked at me once and laughed himself to death.
Hooray for Captain Spaulding.
That's me. One day I caught an eagle, too big for me to tote. I changed him for a sparrow, a jackass, and a goat.
Hooray for Captain Spaulding.
That's me. One day a vicious monkey chased me a mile or two. I hid behind a donkey, the donkey fainted too.
Hooray for Captain Spaulding.
That's me. I had a guy named Teeter, he lent me his repeater. I brought down a mosquito, hey, hey!
Hooray for Captain Spaulding, the African explorer. Hooray, hooray, hooray.
The first day I arrived in
Hooray for
Africa,
Captain Spaulding, the African explorer. Hooray, hooray, hooray.
the first day I arrived in
Hooray
Africa,
for Captain Spaulding, the African explorer. Hooray, hooray, hooray.
the first day I arrived, hooray for Captain, fooled you that time, didn't I?
Hooray, hooray,
Ah, what a way to start off the show. The voice of Groucho Marx from the classic film Animal Crackers. And Groucho, man, never wanting to shy away from singing a great tune. And one of the great classics, Hello, I Must Be Going. But tonight, on Take Two, the movie program on public radio, KCBX, broadcasting from San Luis Obispo, California. Let's just say a lot of talent. Some of it revealing some new discoveries about certain celebrities. Others, let's just say the talent will be misused. And we're talking about celebrities of television and the silver screen who try to delve into musical territory, perhaps reciting poetry, sometimes succeeding, sometimes not. We're turning into disc jockeys tonight. Having this discussion with me and having a lot of fun tonight is my very good friend Bob Whiteford.
And across the aisle from me, a man who has recorded music himself, a great star of stage and screen, and a great singer in his own right. You know who I'm talking about, Jim Dee. And Jimmy, holy cow, have we got a show for the folks out there tonight.
We got to get through this hour. Maybe they'll ban what we're doing, not because of off color, but, well, it has its own sort of obscenity to it.
Well, I think about the people that used to get all upset when I used to sing during Pledge Drive. If you're one of those people, you may not want to listen to this show tonight.
You know, Bob, before we commence, and boy, we've got a lot of ground to cover, and we should also say that this is probably part one of many shows like this that we could do if we get your approval. But, you know, back in the 50s, 60s, 70s, Bob, there would be a big star, a hit television show or a hit movie, and for some reason that star is either, pushed by their agent. Get into the recording studio and put out an album. It doesn't matter what it is. Just get your face on an album cover. And as we'll discover tonight, many stars did that. We're going to be in the 60s, 70s, around that era. But that somehow being on the silver screen or on the little boob tube just wasn't enough for some of these folks. They had to get in and record, poetry, tunes, usually, butchering the Beatles, which we'll hear later on in the show, and other travesties. But, we love this stuff.
Oh, yeah, this is fantastic. I mean, you wonder what people were thinking when this was going on. What was going on through the star's mind when he or she was butchering a tune? What was going through the mind of the probably very highly paid professional studio musicians and engineers listening to this, like going, another take? No, diamonds. This one's perfect the first time out. I mean, it's a very peculiar phenomenon of that time, the late 50s through the 60s and into the 70s, where, as you said, Jimmy, it's cut, print, okay, off to the recording studio. I mean, I don't get it, but I'm glad they're here. That's all I can say.
Well, we do have a few here in the context of a musical, and in fact, our first few clips here have to do with tough guys we know on the big screen. And Bob, I think what struck me recently, and I'm not sure where I saw him, but I saw Robert De Niro. I think he was on Saturday Night Live or something, and he was asked to sing a song. And it's one of the few times I've seen Robert De Niro. He's usually kind of a quiet guy when he's being interviewed and he's off screen. But it was the only time I'd seen Robert De Niro sort of at a loss, because I have a feeling that he feels he can't sing. I wish I could recall the clip, but it was just like, here's one guy who we trust, on the screen as one of the great actors, but as a song and dance man, I know he was in Scorsese's New York, New York, but he was playing the saxophone in that one. Singing wasn't his forte. We've got a few guys here who very, very well and chose to sing, and actually in some cases sound pretty good. You know what we're going to do? We're going to, we might tell you who the people are who are singing. We might give you some clues. We might not tell you, so that the surprise will also, go along with the shock. So here's a guy. Here's a great musical, which is not considered one of the great musicals. Give you the hint. You'll make his day by listening to this.
I talk to the trees, but they don't listen to me. I talk to the stars, but they never hear me. The breeze hasn't time to stop and hear what I say. I talk to them all in vain. But suddenly my words reach someone else's ear, touch someone else's heartstrings too. I tell you my dreams, and while you're listening to me, I suddenly see them come true.
Well, Bob, did you recognize that voice? The one, the only, Clint Eastwood.
Well, what do you know about that, Jimmy? I mean, here it is. We followed his career as an actor, director, and we know that he digs music and whatnot. And it's hard to believe that this is one of the few. This is the first time I've really heard him sing, and I'm speechless. I don't really know what to say, because it seems like he can almost carry a tune, and maybe it's I think it's a testament to what a great actor he is, that he, one, can almost pulls it off, two, that he had the guts to try. I don't want to say glorious failures, but it's close.
Well, you were saying, that tune with Clint Eastwood is from Paint Your Wagon, and in this country, this is a much maligned musical. I get a big kick out of it. It's very, shall we say, bawdy. I think and Lee Marvin's in it. The relationship with Clint Eastwood and Lee Marvin is really great. And these guys, mining for gold. Maybe they wouldn't sing totally in tune, but like you said, Clint, a great music fan. He's produced movies about jazz musicians, including Bird and Straight No Chaser on Thelonious Monk. And he can sing. And we'll give him a passing grade on his work in Paint Your Wagon.
But then we have the flip side here. Now here's the flip side to the Paint Your Wagon single. I'll lead in with this. Great tough guy actor, big star. This song was like number 4 in Britain's Tops of the Pop charts in 1969. Shockingly. In fact, it was revealed to me by a friend from Scotland about 15, 16 years ago. He told me about this, and I was like, God, get out of here. But it's true. This is a big hit in the UK, sung by one of our favorite, or should I say, sung in quotes by one of our favorite tough guys.
Moving out, Ben?
No.
Me neither. I guess there's 2 kinds in the world, Ben. People who move, people who stay. Ain't that true?
No, that ain't true.
Well, what's true?
Oh, there's 2 kinds of people. Them going somewhere, and them going nowhere. And that's what's true.
I don't agree, Ben.
That's because you don't know what the hell I'm talking about. I'm an ex-citizen of nowhere. Sometimes I get mighty homesick. I've never seen a sight that didn't look better looking back. I was born under a wandering star. Mud can make you prisoner and the plains can bake you dry. Snow can burn your eyes, but only people make you cry. Home is made for coming from, for dreams of going to, which with any luck will never come true. I was born.
Well, Bob?
Wow. That's a big hit in Britain, and completely, I don't even think it was released as a single in the United States. But there's Lee Marvin doing his chart-placing UK single, I Was Born Under a Wandering Star. You got to give the guy credit. I mean, that's... we know he wasn't short of guts, and probably had a couple of stiff ones before he took this one on.
Oh, in Paint Your Wagon, there's stiff ones throughout the film. He prides himself on it. I actually think he sings in such a low register, it's only audible by dogs or something. It just sort of fades out there. Anyway, Paint Your Wagon, a great musical with Clint Eastwood and Lee Marvin. Our next one, Bob, we've had on the show before, but we need to put it in the tough guy segment. We'll end up with a non-tough guy here. It's pretty interesting. But here's a guy who Well, considered one of the greatest actors of all time and maybe not one of the best singers of all time, but let's just lead into this. You'll recognize the voice.
What's the delay, Sky? You turning chicken?
You know better than that, horse. You see me roll for twice as much. Only I got a lot more than money riding on this one. They call you Lady Luck, but there is room for doubt. At times you have a very unladylike way of running out. You're on this date with me. The pickings have been lush. And yet before this evening is over, you might give me the brush. You might forget your manners, you might refuse to stay. And so the best that I can do is pray. Luck be a lady tonight. Luck be a lady tonight. Luck, if you've ever been a lady to begin with, luck be a lady tonight. Luck, let a gentleman see how nice a dame you can be. I know the way you've treated other guys you've been with. Luck, be a lady with me.
The Take-Two favorite. You've heard Bob sing it. In fact, I think I like your version better, Bob.
Well, I think my version is right up there with one of the best.
With Marlon Brando.
Oh, totally. I'm right there with Marlon on this one. I mean, you got to feel for Sinatra on this one. He so much wanted to play Sky Masterson in the film and would eventually, 10 years later, cut this tune himself on one of his albums and does a fantastic version of it. But him just sitting there, standing there on the set watching Brando methodize this particular number, and give Frank credit for not reaching for a weapon and getting too temperamental and destroying the production. But to be fair, Brando, I think, pulls it off.
I think so too. Maybe Frank gave him some lessons in between takes.
It sounds to me like he really worked hard on this. Mm-hmm. He really tried his best, and because he was so incredibly talented, it was just enough to pull it off. And so Brando gets a salute on this one.
We're talking about Guys and Dolls, great musical. We recommend it highly. Okay, Bob, we're going to get out into sketchy territory here because we're talking about stars maybe misusing their talents. We're talking about pillaging our vinyl collections with some real, we'll call them gems in quotes.
With a small G.
Okay, well, how about if you introduce this next one, which this little gem was in your collection?
Well, I got to tell you, I found this album at a thrift store in New York. Gosh, it must have been about 25 years ago. And I was frankly quite astounded to see that this person actually had the audacity to try and sing. And the cover and the liner notes and all the writing in the back. I mean, it was like, holy cow. I mean, he jumps in with both white loafered shoed feet, and the result is, it's an unmitigated disaster. I'll let you folks out there be the judge. I mean, I tend not to be too harsh overall. This is pretty bad. Even though in its badness, I have a soft spot for the train wreck that is this album, and kind of a perverse endearment for the star who, for whatever reason, tried this.
I got the world on a string, sitting on her rainbow, got the string around my finger. What a world, what a life, I'm in love. I got a song that I sing, I can make the rain go anytime I move my finger. Lucky me, can't you see, I'm in love. Life is a beautiful thing, as long as I hold the string. I'd be a silly so and so if I should ever let go. I got the world on a string, sitting on a rainbow, got the string around my finger. What a world, what a life, I'm in love. Life is a beautiful thing, as long as I hold the string. I'd be a silly so and so if I should ever let go. I got the world on a string, sitting on a rainbow, got the string around my finger. What a world, what a life, I'm in love.
That's a take, Jerry. Diamonds. Perfect. Wonderful. Let's move on to the next one, Jerry. I got to tell you, one night there was a party at my house. All my friends were over. We're, tearing it up a little bit. I threw this little baby on there, and it brought down the house. Everybody loved it. It was just hilarious. Because I think part of the thing was what we were doing listening to this, our enjoyment was trying to figure like the crazy faces he was making when he was hitting the notes. And the album cover with the cardigan and the white bucks was just, he's wearing a pair of white bucks here that would make Pat Boone drop to his knees in buck envy. And it's so bad, it's good, but it's really bad. Jerry Lewis just sings.
Oh, yeah. I was listening to this album. And, Bob, you mentioned, so bad it's good. I'd say this whole show, straddles that fine line, so bad it's good, so bad it's bad, so bad it's really bad.
And, it's sad because I think in a way for Jerry, when Jerry like I know Jerry, this is probably around the time that Martin and Lewis split up. Maybe either just before. I think it's just before, and he knows the end is coming, and he's trying to stake out new territory. I give Jerry Lewis a lot of credit as a filmmaker around this time, when he first went solo, that he kind of got a little experimental with his films, which were kind of interesting. Not always successfully, but the fact is he was willing to step out there and try something on his own. And I can say this from personal experience. It's a little unnerving sometimes when you step out there on that stage under those lights with a lot of eyes on you, and it's you live or you die right there. And so I have a special empathy for him because he put it out there. And he laid a big egg with this one. But I love him for it.
And you said you have about 4 of his albums, so it wasn't just this one album.
Well, I have 4 copies of this album because I could not conceive of a world where I couldn't have it. So I was wearing the grooves out of them.
Your backup copies.
Oh, yeah. And folks, just for the record, it's never come out on CD for some reason or another.
I can't imagine why.
Shocking.
Okay, getting further into dangerous territory here, Bob. We're going to get into the TV realm, although TV and motion pictures, merging here a little bit. But, I think we're going to go ahead and at least say who this next person is, because his great version of Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds by the Beatles, we're talking William Shatner here, has a few other things under his belt. In fact, you have this album, Bob, on CD. It's called The Transformed Man.
Transformed into what is what I'm trying to figure out.
What is interesting is, the version, well, we're going to play a dreadful version of a Bob Dylan song here, but still, we know the Lucy in the Sky with Diamond track. You probably heard it out there. But what Shatner does on this album is, he's talking Shakespeare and literature, but then segues into some popular music lyrics. And it's just sort of this, each track is about 6 or 7 minutes, and it starts off with him, philosophizing and talking about Shakespeare, literary geniuses, and so on, and then segueing into tunes like Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds and this wonderful one we're going to be hearing in just a second.
It's this album pretty much was dead on arrival. I think it went directly to the cutout bins back in the days. Of course, that's aging us here, folks. But for younger members of the audience, there was a time when albums came out on vinyl many years ago, when they had pressed, the label had pressed a lot of them, and they knew before it was even going to hit the racks that they had a turkey on their hand. That's when they would cut the corner off or bore a hole through the cover, and just suddenly you'd find them on sale at your delicatessen for 99 cents, sold out of some guy's trunk. That's where the Transformed Man ended up upon release. It was only years later when a younger, kind of crazy audience kind of picked up on just the horrific genius, the perverse genius of this album, and embraced Shatner anew. And he's kind of taken this, we're talking like 40 years after the fact. He's taken this horse and rode it to a whole new career. I mean, think about it. This is the beginning. And the latest was, when he was on Conan O'Brien doing Sarah Palin speeches to a jazz combo, tapping his sandaled feet. I mean, it was pretty nutty. I mean, he's embraced self-effacing humor. At this point, he's actually believing what he's doing, and that's pretty wild.
Well, if he was believing this, here is William Shatner, and we'll only play part of this, I think. We'll spare you. William Shatner and Mr. Tambourine Man.
Mr. Tambourine Man? Hey. Mr. Tambourine Man? Hey, Mr. Tambourine Man? I'm not sleepy, and there is no place I'm going to.
Hey, Mr. Tambourine Man, play a song for me.
In the jingle-jangle morning, I'll come following you. Take me on a trip on your magic swirling ship. My senses have been stripped. My hands can't feel to grip. My toes too numb to step. Wait only for my boot heels to be wandering.
Hey, Mr. Tambourine Man.
I'm ready to go anywhere. I'm ready for to fade into my own parade. Cast your dancing spell my way. I promise to go under it.
Hey, Mr. Tambourine Man, play a song for me.
Ah, the one, the only William Shatner from his album The Transformed Man. And, yeah, Bob.
He ain't sleepy, but I think he now wishes he was. Holy cow.
Well, you're listening to Take Two, the movie program tonight. Bob and I are disc jockeys, and it's all downhill from here. This is Public Radio KCBX. Back with more of Take Two in just a moment. You're listening to Take Two on Public Radio, KCBX and KCBX HD1 San Luis Obispo, KSBX Santa Barbara, and KNBX San Ardo. We're streaming worldwide at kcbx.org. You can write to the program at movies@kcbx.org and check out the Take Two program archives at kcbx.org. And you can also catch us at npr.org.
Take Two is sponsored by the 2011 San Luis Obispo International Film Festival. Complete information available at slowfilmfest.org.
Support comes from Sage Ecological Landscape, beautifying and preserving the Central Coast. Sage can create a custom garden expression of your lifestyle that is creative, functional, and sustainable. More at sagelandscapes.net. We're back on Take Two, the movie program on Public Radio KCBX. My name is Jim Dee. I'm here with my good friend Bob Whiteford. We're dusting off the archives, pulling out the vinyl, and finding celebrities in mostly embarrassing situations musically. We ended up our first half hour with the one, the only William Shatner. And, you know, when you have William Shatner, there's another guy that you just need to throw in there. And here's one that we're just going to play a little bit of this because we'll spare you once again. But think William Shatner and listen to this.
I left a good job in the city, working for the man every night and day. And I never lost 1 minute of sleeping, worrying about the way things might have been. Big wheel keep on turning, Proud Mary keep on burning, rolling, rolling, rolling on the river. I cleaned a lot of plates in Memphis, I pumped a lot of pain down in New Orleans, but I never saw the good side.
Ah, Bob, I think we'll spare them the rest. That's the one, the only Leonard Nimoy.
Fascinating.
He should have done it as Spock. I think it would have been sounded a little bit better. But,
Well, I think what was happening here behind the wheels that are a turning is that, Leonard Nimoy's probably chafing at the bit because he didn't want to be pigeonholed as Spock and all this stuff. So he was trying desperately, very desperately, kind of like Hail Mary instead of Proud Mary, desperate, to do something different, to change the game, to, try and reinvent himself. With catastrophically bad results. It's worth noting that Nimoy's LP is a holy cow, about as successful as the Titanic, the real ship, not the movie.
Well, I listened to that, Bob, and they're in the studio. They've just laid down the track, and they're sitting there listening to the playback, and just like,
Or just the silence. Oh, Lenny, outstanding. Lenny, that's amazing. Oh boy.
Okay, we're going to move on here. Again, Bob Dylan getting shredded here, but boy, there's something about this I really kind of like. Should we tell him who it is?
Oh, I think we must.
Okay, do you remember? Well, okay. Star of screen and television. This is Sebastian Cabot. You might remember him in The Time Machine, a good friend of Rod Taylor's. I forget the television show that he was on.
Let's see. He was Mr. French in some TV show. He was also in Checkmate and what was it? Nanny and the Family Affair. Thank you, Hank, rescuing us. Poor Hank, he is really suffering here today. His ears, there's something, it's like every time we're playing a clip, he's checking his ears. I think he's got an ear infection.
Sebastian Cabot had some great roles on The Twilight Zone as well as some great episodes. But folks, here's Sebastian Cabot reciting poetry unlike you've ever heard.
Go away from my window. Leave at your own chosen speed. I'm not the one you want, babe. I ain't the one you need. You say you're looking for someone never weak but always strong to protect you and defend you, whether you're right or wrong. Someone to open each and every door. But it ain't me, babe. No, it ain't me, babe. It ain't me you're looking for, babe. Go lightly from the ledge, babe. Go lightly on the ground. I'm not the one you want, babe. I don't let you down. You say you're looking for someone who'll promise never to part, someone to close his eyes for you, someone to close his heart, someone who will die for you and more. Ooh, it ain't me, babe. No. It ain't me, babe. It ain't me you're looking for, babe. Go melt back into the night, babe. Everything inside is made of stone. There's nothing in here moving. Anyway, I'm not alone. You say you're looking for someone who will pick you up each time you fall, to gather flowers constantly and to come each time you call, a lover for your life and nothing more. Hey, it ain't me, babe. No, it ain't me, babe. It ain't me you're looking for, babe.
The one, the only Sebastian Cabot, and I wish you could see the look on Bob's face here after listening to that. It ain't me, babe.
Jim, I am currently extracting the hot pokers from my eyes. Holy cow. This is just... wow. Boy, that's bad. It ain't me? No, babe. It ain't me. Oh, my holy cow.
Well, let's remain on television here. We're going to move on to the next. And, here's a great singer. And, we'll give you a pretty good clue here. But I can't see our next singer. I really think he's a great actor. He's kind of pigeonholed as a sheriff of a little town on TV land. But since then, this actor has sort of reinvented himself in a film called Waitress. And he is a great singer. But... I guess the way I'll introduce this is the Sheriff of Mayberry, I don't think would ever sit down with Opie and sing this song.
There is a house in New Orleans they call the Rising Sun. It's been the ruin of many poor boy and me, oh Lord, for one. If I had listened to what my mama said, I wouldn't be in this fix today. But being so young and foolish, oh God, I let a rambler lead me astray.
Hey, the one, the only Andy Griffith belting out the House of the Rising Sun, and if Andy Griffith put out some albums of great Americana songs, I think he would do them justice. But as you were saying, this one may not be quite the one, but still interesting.
You know, Jimmy, I think it's safe to say Andy Griffith, classically trained method actor from the Actors Studio, hit big with Facing the Crowd. The guy he plays light comedy and really kind of dark and menacing extremely well. And like you mentioned before with Waitress, he's kind of reinvented himself as kind of a folksy elder statesman kind of person, and terrific talent. And yeah, he can sing and he can play. It's just this was probably not a good selection for him. Probably a cover he probably would have been better not doing.
Well, he kind of puts his heart and soul into it still.
Oh, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. Just, I don't know. I could see him. I don't know. I could see him doing Battle of New Orleans before I could see him doing this.
Yeah. Well, Andy Griffith, you did a good job on it.
You get a
leave it
split
there.
decision.
Well, we got one more great character actor here who actually made it into the top 40 in the early 60s. And you know, Bob, when we did our show on character actors, we didn't include this wonderful actor. And, I'll tell who it is. Walter Brennan has worked with the likes of Bogart and To Have and Have Not in a ton of Westerns. He's really an incredible actor. When this tune came out and hit the top 40 in the early 60s, he was a kind of a mainstay in American television on The Real McCoys as Amos McCoy. And this came out, I think, 1961-62. And it's sort of like Slim Pickens has the most unmistakable voice, as does Walter Brennan, a totally recognizable voice, especially in his latter years as on the television show The Real McCoy. Shall we play this?
Yes, by all means, Jimmy.
Hit it, Hank.
How old was I when I first seen old Rivers? I can't remember when he wandered around. Well, that old fella did a heap of work. Spent his whole life walking plowed ground. He had a one-room shack not far from us, and, well, we was about as poor as him. He had one old mule he called Midnight, and I trailed along after them. He used to plow them rows straight and deep, and I'd come along there behind, busting up clods with my own bare feet. Old Rivers was a friend of mine. The sun would get high and that mule would work, and old Rivers would finally say, "Whoa!" He'd wipe his brow and lean back on the reins and talk about a place he's gonna go. He'd say, "One of these days, I'm gonna climb that mountain, walk up there among them clouds where the cotton's high and the corns are growing and there ain't no fields to plow.
got a letter today from the folks back home, and they're all fine. Crops is dry. Down near them end, Mom said, son, you know old Rivers died. Sitting here now in this new plowed earth, trying to find me a little shade. With the sun beating down across the fields I see, that mule, old Rivers, and me. Now, one of these days, I'm gonna climb that mountain, walk up there among them clouds, where the cotton's high and the corns are growing, and there ain't no fields to plow. With the sun beating down across the fields I see, that mule, old Rivers, and me.
Oh, Bob, I hadn't heard that probably since the early 60s, and I just heard it recently, and I had to plug it into this show of ours, pulling out these novelties of the celebrities in the studio and making a top 40 hit.
Wow. Must have been a slow week. That's all I can figure.
Well, we're going to move into some different territory now. Here's a guy who, very funny, although he's also a great actor. He was in East of Eden. He played James Dean's father. We're talking about Jim Backus. But the main thing about Jim Backus, I think, is that voice, that incredible voice. He's the voice of Mr. Magoo. And a number of, I know he's done a lot of other voice work, but he was also a fine actor, a fine character actor. Well, he put out an album back, I believe, in the early 60s. And I always find this recording very interesting because without all the editing and sound effects plugged in, I mean, how blue did he get?
Well, you know what this is, Jimmy? It's kind of like what they had back in those days called like a party record. Like Red Fox was pretty notorious. So, you know, you spin the album when you're having a party, and there's dirty jokes on it and whatnot. And everyone, you know, is riding like their fifth highball or whiskey sour, and it's a riot. And here's Jim Backus. Oh my God, you've done it again.
Oh God, you've got it. Here's Jim Backus.
Oh, Gwendolyn, my dear, bring me my ink.
You're not going to write dirty letters again tonight, sir?
Don't you worry, you pretty little... You just bring me the... ink.
Oh, I did, sir. I put it on the table, next to your French postcards.
Well, I'll be dipped in...
Why is that, sir?
Why, I drank it, that's why. Well, no matter, bring me the telephone book.
You're not going to make obscene phone calls again tonight, sir?
Is a pig's fork?
As far as I know, sir.
Of course, my little... you bring me the phone book while I'm still in the mood. I'm not a light switch, you know.
Here you are, my lord.
Yeah, wonderful. Here we go. Oh, here's a good one. Melanie.
No, sir. I believe that's take, sir.
What the is the difference?
Shall I dial it for you, sir?
Was Geronimo an Indian?
As far as I know, sir.
As far as I know, so you're a pain in the...
Thank you, sir.
I hope she this one I'm calling. Hello? How do you do? How's your... I beg your pardon? Is this Melanie? That's Tate. That's tough. You're too old for me.
Too old, sir?
It sounded like a wrinkled old walrus.
I'm sorry, sir.
Oh, by George, here's one here. Peggy.
I believe that's Percy, sir.
Who gives a good... Give her a call and we'll have a ball.
Hello?
Is this Peggy?
No, you must have the wrong number. This is Peggy Percy.
Well, now, don't run off, my dear. How would you like it if I came over?
Oh, I'd love it. I just simply love it. But hurry while I'm still in the mood. I'm not a light switch, you know.
Something wrong, sir?
What the is the world coming to? She was a pervert.
The unmistakable voice of Jim Backus, and not usually what he does, you know. I mean, we see him on, Gilligan's Island, we see him, Mr. Magoo, but not usually in that sort of territory. Pretty funny stuff.
Absolutely, Jimmy. Back in the nostalgic old days of the dirty prank phone call. Oh, gosh. The days of yesteryear.
Well, we're going to move into completely different territory with this next song. It's a very interesting tune. I'll give you the title of the tune. It's called L.S. Bumblebee, and it kind of implies what you may think with those initials and that tune. But back in 1967, in a number of radio stations across the country, the Beatles album Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band was about to be released. And I believe there were some tapes, some bootleg tapes that were thrown in, I know at least into Los Angeles radio stations. They played a number of cuts from the Sgt. Pepper album that we've all known, and then this tune was called a new Beatles tune. And the album comes out, and L.S. Bumblebee is not included on the album. And so there was this mystery of what was this tune that they were saying was the Beatles, and it obviously wasn't the Beatles. Well, L.S. Bumblebee was recorded around the time of Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, 1967. One of its stars became a very big star in this country, but he was also part of a team back in Great Britain, and they also made some films together. Very, very funny. We'll tell you who the comedians are after we listen to L.S. Bumblebee.
There is a little insect not many people see. He's known to all the insects as the L.S. Bumblebee. So when you hear him coming, just throw away your tea. That psychedelic humming will mean you'll soon be free.
Oh, druggy, freak out, baby. The bee is coming.
I can hear the hum of the lovely L.S. Bumblebee. Now it's time to fly out of your mind and into the sky with me. I fly to the land where my hand can see, where my eyes can walk and the mountains talk. I fly to the land where my hand can see, where my eyes can walk and the mountains talk.
I hear with my knees, run with my nose, smell with my feet, my heart is a rose.
And this week's Bumper Bumble is for Al Herbert and his marijuana brass and their hit waxing Spanish bee.
Oh! I can hear the hum of the lovely L.S. Bumblebee. Take a little sip from the tasty lips of the L.S. Bumblebee.
My heart is a rose.
Oh, that's better.
Thought to be a Beatles tune back in 1967. It certainly wasn't. Composed by Dudley Moore and teaming up with his cohort in comedy, Peter Cook, and kind of satirizing the whole drug culture at the time. That tune was identified as a Beatles track. It wasn't, and I think it just went into obscurity, Bob. It just, I was wondering what it was, and it showed up on some bootleg albums. I think you can find it online. L.S. Bumblebee by Dudley Moore and Peter Cook. And if you haven't seen Bedazzled with them in it, check it out.
Well, you know, Jimmy, it very much sounds like of that era. So much so. I just heard it for the first time, folks, before we went on the air tonight, and that is really well done. I actually like that one. How bizarre.
Well, I think we have time for one more, and folks, not sure if you've enjoyed this or not. It's kind of grueling to hear some of these stars in the studio, maybe trying to, as you said, widen their careers. But we had fun doing it, and dusting off some of the old vinyl and playing some of this crazy stuff has been a lot of fun. But Bob, I'll leave you to our end of the show tune.
And I think this is like our bonus track for the evening's entertainment. And we're going to leave you with a really terrific actor, a character actor who went on to be a star. His career kind of mirrored people like Lee Marvin, like Charles Bronson, especially Bronson, where went to Europe to become a star as well. Lee Van Cleef, and of course Clint Eastwood. And I'm talking about Bald is Beautiful. No, not Yul Brynner, the other bald guy, Telly Savalas, the pride of Garden City, New York. You might know him as Kojak. You might know him as Maggot from The Dirty Dozen. He has a solid record as an actor on television and on screen. Tough guy films, plays cops, all kinds of crazy psychotics, westerns, you name it. He's been in them all. McKenna's Gold. I mean, he just shows up in all kinds of things and brings it home. I watched some great Euro crime film that was shot in New Orleans from 1970 called Violent City, with Charles Bronson going up against Telly Savalas, like two old friends. In the late 70s, with the success of Kojak, his TV show, where he plays a very tough New York City cop, he kind of came up with this kind of reinventing himself as the sexy singer. Now, think polyester shirts, think unbuttoned to the navel, think too many love chains tangled up in chest hair, and think very bad cover versions of classic tunes with kind of a very uncomfortably sleazy quality to them. Have I got your attention now? Yes. We're talking Savalas mania. Figure the time, maybe around 1977, 1978. How about this one? Give this baby a shot.
Something the way she moves attracts me like no other lover. Something in the way she woos me. I don't want to leave her now. You know I believe in how. Somewhere in her smile she knows that I don't need no other lover. Something in her style that shows me I don't want to leave her now. You know I believe in how. You're asking me, will my love grow? I don't know, I don't know. You stick around, now it may show I don't know, I don't know. Something in the way she knows